walk down the street with the same sense of safety and the same sense of privilege as a white person.
We use the Black Panther as our symbol because of the nature of a panther.
The police jump on you, beat you up, put the gun at your head.
When I first met Huey and Bobby, they were in the process of forming an organization.
During World War II, tens of thousands of black people left the southern states, moving to Oakland and other cities in the Bay Area. A new generation of young black people growing up in these cities faced new forms of poverty and racism unfamiliar to their parents, and they sought to develop new forms of politics to address them. Thus was born a civil rights movement, which was a nonviolent social movement and campaign from 1954 to 68 in the U.S. However, not much changed in the cities of the North and West, as the wartime and post-war jobs which drew much of the black migration. The black population was concentrated in poor urban ghettos with high unemployment and substandard housing, and was mostly excluded from political representation, top universities, and the middle class. Northern and Western police departments were almost all white. In 1966, only 16 of Oakland's 661 police officers were African American, which was less than 2.5%. Black Panther Party emerges. By 1966, a Black Power ferment group emerged, consisting largely of young urban black people attempting to answer the question of how black people in America can win citizenship rights, as well as actual economic and political power. Young black people in Oakland and other cities developed study groups and political organizations, and from this ferment, the Black Panther Party emerged in late October 1966, founded by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. Newton and Seale had first met in 1962 when they were both students at Merritt College. They joined Donald Warden's Afro-American Association, where they read widely, debated, and organized in an emergent black nationalist tradition inspired by Malcolm X and others. Eventually dissatisfied with Warden's accommodationism, they developed a revolutionary anti-imperialist perspective, working with more active and militant groups like the Seoul Students Advisory Council and the Revolutionary Action Movement. Their paid jobs running youth service programs at the North Oakland Neighborhood Anti-Poverty Center.
That you didn't walk down the street with the same sense of safety and the same sense of privilege as a white person.
There was absolutely no difference in the way the police treated us in Mississippi than they did in California.
The police jump on you, beat you up, put the gun at your head.
Allowed them to develop a revolutionary nationalist approach to community service, later a key element in the Black Panther Party's community survival programs. Call to Peace to Arms. America had become a powder keg, and all that was needed was a lit match, which the police provided on the night of September 27, 1966, after San Francisco Police Department officer Alvin Johnson took the life of Matthew Johnson, a teenager who was fleeing the scene of a stolen car. Later that afternoon, a group of approximately 40 to 60 young adults were observed at the Economic Opportunity Center, loudly discussing plans to storm the Potrero police station, and events unfolding later on proved that the city had a full-scale riots on its hands. The National Guard and California Highway Patrol were deployed late that night, and martial law was imposed until October 1.
They may not have called you nigger every day, but they treated you the same way they did in Mississippi.
This is what we were going through on a daily basis.
I'm tired of it. I'll stay here as long as I have to.
We use the Black Panther as our symbol because of the nature of a panther.
Matthew Johnson, an unarmed young black man in San Francisco, Newton observed the violent insurrection that followed. He had an epiphany that would distinguish the Black Panther Party from the multitude of black power organizations. Newton saw the explosive rebellious anger of the ghetto as a social force and believed that if he could stand up to the police, he could organize that force into political power. Huey and Bobby raised enough money to buy 2 shotguns by buying bulk quantities of the recently publicized Mao's Little Red Book and reselling them to leftists and liberalists on the Berkeley campus at 3 times the price. Newton and Seale decided to adopt the Black Panther logo and formed their own organization called the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. The hunters become the hunted. The initial tactic of the partly utilized contemporary open carry gun laws to protect party members when policing the police. This act was done to record incidents of police brutality by distantly following police cars around neighborhoods, all of it legal. Between the end of 1966 to the start of 1967, The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense's armed police patrols in Oakland black communities attracted a small handful of members. Awareness of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense grew rapidly after May 2, 1967, when the California State Assembly Committee on Criminal Procedure was scheduled to convene to discuss what was known as the Mulford Act, which would make the public carrying of loaded firearms illegal. Newton, with Minister of Information Eldridge Cleaver, put together a plan to send a group of 26 armed Panthers to protest the bill.
When I first met Huey and Bobby, they were in the process of forming an organization.
The white students should relate and pay more attention to the colonized situation here of the blacks.
The group entered the assembly carrying their weapons, an incident which was widely publicized and which prompted police to arrest Seal and 5 others. The group pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges of disrupting a legislative session. At the time of the protest, the party had fewer than 100 members in total. The Mulford Act was passed eventually, aimed at containing the group. State machinery galvanized. In August 1967, the FBI instructed its program COINTELPRO to neutralize black nationalist hate groups and other dissident groups. In September 1968, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover described the Black Panthers as the greatest threat to the internal security of the country, making them a primary target. The goals of the program were to prevent the unification of militant black nationalist groups and to weaken their leadership, as well as to discredit them to reduce their support and growth, which they did by creating rivalries between black nationalist factions and to exploit existing ones.
When he's assailed upon, that he'll back up first, but if the aggressor continues, then he'll strike out.
We're gonna walk on this racist power structure, and we're gonna say to the whole damn government.
COINTELPRO also aimed to dismantle the Black Panther Party by targeting their social community programs, including its Free Breakfast for Children program, and denounced such efforts as a means of indoctrination. The government agencies were slowly but surely tightening the net aimed at trapping the movement's leaders. Black Panther Party members were involved in many fatal firefights with police. On October 28, 1967, Oakland police officer John Frey was slain in an altercation with Huey P. Newton during a traffic stop, in which Newton and backup officer Herbert Heenes also sustained wounds. Newton was convicted at his trial.
Also, the Second Amendment of the Constitution guarantees the citizen a right to bear arms on public property.
A distance where the police couldn't say they were interfering with their arrest or their detention of the individual.
The police slaying gained the party even wider recognition by the radical American left, and it stimulated the growth of the party nationwide. Newton was released after 3 years when his conviction was reversed on appeal. The Los Angeles chapter. In 1968, the Southern California chapter was founded by Al Prentice Bunchy Carter in Los Angeles. Carter was the leader of the Slauson Street Gang, and many of the LA chapter's early recruits were Slausons. On April 6, 1968, 2 days after the slaying of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and with riots raging across the cities in the U.S., 17-year-old Hutton was traveling with Eldridge Cleaver and other BPP members in a car. The group confronted Oakland police officers, then fled to an apartment building where they engaged in a 90-minute battle with the police. Hutton became the first member of the party to be slain by police. It seemed that Black Panther's history turned another page, and 1968 proved to be a year of expansion as well as shedding blood for it. Numerous Black Panther members lost their lives, and some were closely involved in illegal activities, fleeing for their freedom. By the end of the year, party membership peaked at around 2,000. Party members engaged in criminal activities such as extortion, stealing, violent discipline of BPP members, and robberies. The BPP leadership took 1/3 of the proceeds from robberies committed by BPP members. Evolution of the party. Newton focused the BPP on the party's Oakland School and various other social service programs. In early 1971, the BPP founded the Intercommunal Youth Institute in January 1971, with the intent of demonstrating how black youth ought to be educated. Erica Huggins was the director of the school, and Regina Davis was an administrator. The school was unique in that it did not have grade levels, but instead had different skill levels, so an 11-year-old could be in second-level English and fifth-level science. Elaine Brown taught reading and writing to a group of 10 to 11-year-olds deemed uneducable by the system. The school children were given free busing, breakfast, lunch and dinner, books and school supplies. Children were taken to have medical checkups. Many children were given free clothes. It was clear that this party was ready for change, but would its members and leaders with a separate inclination agree? The beginning of the end. Significant disagreements among the party leaders over how to confront ideological differences led to a split within the party. Certain members felt that the Black Panthers should participate in local government and social services, while others encouraged constant conflict with the police. Some Panther leaders, such as Huey P. Newton and David Hilliard, favored a focus on community service coupled with self-defense. Others, such as Eldridge Cleaver, embraced a more confrontational strategy. In February 1971, Eldridge Cleaver deepened the schism in the party when he publicly criticized the party for adopting a reformist rather than revolutionary agenda and called for Hilliard's removal. Cleaver was expelled from the Central Committee but went on to lead a splinter group, the Black Liberation Army, which had previously existed as an underground paramilitary wing of the party. The split turned violent as the Newton and Cleaver factions carried out retaliatory slayings of each other's members, resulting in the passings of 4 people. From mid to late 1971, hundreds of members throughout the country quit the Black Panther Party. In early 1972, the party began closing down dozens of chapters and branches all over the country and bringing members and operations to Oakland. The political arm of the Southern California chapter was shut down, and its members moved to Oakland, although the underground military arm remained for a time. The underground remnants of the LA chapter, which had emerged from the Slauson Street Gang, eventually reemerged as the Crips, a street gang who at first advocated social reform before devolving into racketeering.
The nation is in trouble.
I think very definitely it is.
What is the answer?
The answer is vigorous law enforcement.
In 1974, Huey Newton and 8 other Panthers were arrested and charged with attack on police officers. In August 1974, Newton went into exile in Cuba to avoid prosecution for the slaying of Kathleen Smith, an 18-year-old. It eventually merged into the shadows, leaving an indelible mark on American history. That's all we have for you, folks. Join us next time.